Welcome to an exclusive interview with Sixiènne Jansen. We are here at day 2 of Sigma Curaçao, and Sixiènne is joined me today for this exclusive interview. She is a prominent figure in Curaçao's legal and regulatory landscape. Ms. Jansen serves as one of the legal advisors of Curaçao's Finance Ministry, and she plays a pivotal role in shaping and overseeing the evolving landscape of the current gambling laws and regulations and what's coming. With her deep expertise and insight into Curaçao's legislative developments, we have the unique opportunity today to delve into the current state and the future state of the island's gambling reforms. Sixiènne, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I hope you're enjoying Curaçao so far.
Yes.
And you enjoyed this event.
Of course. It's an honor for us here in Curaçao to have our first Sigma event. So welcome to everyone.
Thank you. Can you tell us a brief overview of your role and what you do and what's your take when it comes to the new regulations coming?
Okay, sure. Well, I'm an attorney and I'm also one of the legal advisors of the minister on his team to start and guide the reforms of the online gaming regulations here in Curaçao. And my role is actually as a legal advisor, but also as someone who assists in the project and make sure that all the parties are involved and that the process is being guided. So I have a dual role, and I really enjoy it because it looks like something that is really has been overdue. It is something that has been awaited for a very long time, and it will also help the industry to evolve. So yes.
So let's start to understand a little bit what's coming. And to do that, I would like to ask you to give me a brief overview of the current state of the gambling laws that you have right now.
Okay, well, as everyone knows, we have an online gaming sector that is quite large and has quite been prominent in the world gaming landscape. A lot of operators operate from Curaçao because Curaçao has an open license which allows operators to use that license in most countries around the world, of course, except for the countries that it is prohibited to do so. But that is something that we're trying to reform right now, as the law has been entered into force in 1993, meaning that the law is almost, well, it is 30 years. It is 30 years old and it is quite expired, meaning that the law did not anticipate most of the developments that took place in the past 30 years. So if you see the current landscape of online gaming right now, it does not really is not being facilitated by the current law. So one of the main reasons to enter into these reforms is making the laws updated and to facilitate the landscape of online gaming as it is. Right now.
Okay, so Sixiènne, what are the primary objectives and goals of the government when it comes to updating the gambling laws?
Well, we just discussed that the gambling laws are almost 30 years old and that they've been able to facilitate the growth and foster of this industry. Currently, we notice that the industry has developed much further than the law was able to anticipate, and that the law needs to be developed into a wider and more sensible online gaming regulation that is more in line with current day's online gaming industry. The government, for example, hears a lot about that there are sharks in Curaçao, that the current regulation is not properly regulating and supervising the market, and they are really focused on changing that perception. So AML, proper supervision, a proper regulator, those are all things that the government is aiming to achieve. And of course, creating more additional income and a contribution to the Curaçao economy, as currently the Curaçao economy barely benefits from a big and booming business here in the Curaçao jurisdiction.
So you explained to me a lot of the primary goals of what you're trying to achieve with this.
Yes.
Apart from that, what are the objectives that the government aims to achieve with updating the current gambling laws, and how will these changes benefit both the sector, the industry in itself, as well as the general public?
Yeah, well, there are many stakeholders within this process. We also recognize the country of Curacao as one of the main stakeholders, but also the operators in the sector as it is today. What is interesting now is that the government is trying to make the online gaming landscape workable for everyone, but also in a way that they can keep the proper supervision, which everyone knows that up until now there was a master license, sub-license structure, which is something that's going to be replaced by formal government regulator, the CGA, who will be making sure that all laws and regulations will be supervised on, but also adhered to by the operators. Yes, so you also asked me how it will benefit both the sector and the local economy. And one of the things that is very prominent now is that the sub-license is often not recognized as a full license. What you will have now, issuing licenses by a government regulator, will create a situation where people have licenses that they can fully use and exploit all around the world, and also in the same time create revenues for the local authorities to make sure that Curacao as a country also benefits financially and has a contribution to the economy based on online gaming.
What are the criteria and requirements that companies will need to meet in order to obtain a gaming license here in Curaçao under the new regulatory framework? So there was a lot of say that you need to have a physical office here. Can you explain this a little bit better for people who want to get their license and how they can achieve this?
Yes, maybe it is good to start with the distinction in the two phases that we're entering right now. Currently, Curacao has a gambling law, the law that I was just referring to, 30 years old. Prior to the new law, the LOC, entering into force, which is approximately next year around July, there is a first phase that will be entered, and that is that the current regulator, the GCB, will be issuing licenses directly to operators as of the 1st of November. And seeing that distinction, it really helps understand how this process is going to be guided. The transition now is that as of the 1st of November, operators will be able to have their own license and will be able to operate within the current restrictions of the law. The current law is quite flexible, but the Gaming Control Board has policies and regulations in place to guide this process and to create a seamless transition without an interruption of business for the operators into the LOC, which will be next year.
So the actual date would be?
Well, for now, it is aimed that it is the 1st of July.
1st of July.
Yes, but that is something that is, of course, dependent on when Parliament accepts this law.
Of course, it still needs to go through the whole process.
For sure.
Okay, what are the measures that are being put in place to ensure that this transition of the new regulatory framework is smooth on both existing and new operators?
Okay, well, Here,
Yeah.
Sigma.
One of them.
That
right?
is one of them, but the minister has also been visiting many of the other shows. He's been to ICE, he's been to Sigma
Malta.
as well, exactly, to Malta, and also in Barcelona, where he and his team are making sure that there is enough awareness, because a lot of the people now are stating that they do have some interest, but they are not aware of what the changes are going to be and whether or not those changes are going to be beneficial to their business. So the main thing that we're doing right now is making sure that everyone is informed and also that there are the right elements in place. External advisors, a gaming control board who is now transitioning to the CGA, and also, for example, making sure that the CGA is equipped.
And are there any unique features from this new jurisdiction that set it apart from other jurisdictions, let's say Malta or?
Well, yes, I think there are. I think that Curaçao in itself is already a quite unique jurisdiction. Seeing the flexibility, but also the opportunities that the current jurisdiction offers. One of the things that's interesting is that you will have the possibility to get accredited by, for example, payment solution providers, but also educational institutions, like people that provide ancillary services to the operators, will be able to get an accreditation. Aggregators will also have the opportunity to get a license, a B2B license, which is not required but is possible to obtain.
Here in Curacao.
Here in Curacao, yes.
Perfect. How will the government ensure that these new regulations are effectively enforced and that the operators are held accountable for the compliance, for their AML, for the KYC?
Well, the CGA, the Curaçao Gaming Authority, will be the next phase of the current GCB, and they will be equipped with tools within the law to supervise, but also to enforce the measures of the new law.
And lastly, to close off our interview, Sixiènne, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to companies that are interested in entering the Curaçao gambling market under the new regulatory framework?
What I would say is I understand that there is a lot of uncertainty. A lot of people are not aware of what the changes will entail, but the government is trying their best together with their team and also the current regulator to make sure that everyone is informed. For everyone who's interested, I would recommend to visit the website of the GCB, which is portal.gamingcontrol.org, and there you will find information on the upcoming phase as of the 1st of November, where you can obtain a regular license, no cut. Where as of the 1st of November you can obtain a direct license with the current regulator, and where they will also keep you informed on the changes and the upcoming reforms within the law here in Curaçao.
Sixiènne, thank you so much for this informative discussion we had today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come and sit with us, inform our audience a little bit more on what's happening and what's coming. And I really appreciate your invitation to Curaçao for all of us here.
Yes, you're welcome. It was my pleasure, and happy to see that Sigma Curaçao, the first session is a fact. So yes.